Currently, there are 133 5-star operators in Arknights and server, so I decided to make this top 10 list to help new players better decide to roll or build certain operators. In this video I will go over these operators' talents and skills, and if you should add masteries to their skills and build their module if they have any. To keep the video short, I'm not going to mention some of the operators' first skills if they are generic and bad. Before I start, I want to let you know that choosing only 10 operators from 133 operators is hard, and there are a lot of extremely good operators that couldn't make the list. So let me know in the comments if you want part 2 of this video or a 5-star operators tier list. Starting with the number 10, Texas. Texas is a pioneer vanguard. That means unlike other vanguards, she can block 2 enemies, and she does a pretty good job at lane holding early game. Her talent is tactical delivery, gains 2 extra DP when Texas is in the squad. A great talent, especially with her somewhat high DP cost for an early game unit. Also, what is nice about this talent is that you don't need Texas to be deployed, she just needs to be in the squad. Her second skill is Sword Rain. Immediately gains 11 DP, deals 135% attack as arts damage twice to all nearby enemies and stun them for 2 seconds. This skill offers a decent damage, DP generation, and crowd control. It can also hit aerial enemies, which is a nice support to your sniper in the early game. Should you add masteries to her skills? Her second skill doesn't benefit a lot from masteries, it's just a little bit added to everything. Should you build her module? Her module, even if level 1 is a must, it reduces her first deployment cost by 4 DP, which solves the huge problem of the high DP cost for Texas. Upgrading this module to level 3 isn't required, but a 15% more damage on her second skill is nice. Number 9. April. April is an anti-air sniper, which means she will prioritize attacking aerial enemies. Her talent is Experienced Hunter. This talent will reduce her redeployment time by 20 seconds and her DP cost by 1. 20 seconds less for her 70 seconds redeployment time might not seem a lot for her fast redeploy niche, but it will be further improved with her module, and even more if you have her at pot 3. The -1 DP cost is very helpful since you will be deploying and redeploying her multiple times in the stage. Her second skill is Flexible Camouflage. This is a passive skill. For 20 seconds after deployment, attack plus 70% and gain camouflage. Since she is a semi-fast redeploy operator, it makes sense that she has a passive skill to be useful the moment you deploy her. The camouflage means that you can place her anywhere on the stage to deal with annoying enemies, ranged units, and casters without worrying about her being one-shot after deployment. Should you add masteries to her skills? The extra attack and skill duration are decent, and definitely worth it if you use her regularly. Should you build her module? The module at level 3 is a must for her. It improves her talent to reduce her redeployment time by 28 seconds and her DP cost by 2. It also gives her +8 attack speed when there are ground enemies within range. Before I go to the next operator, I want to preface that April, Blue Poison, Platinum, Cruise the Keen Glint all have about the same power level, so it might depend on whose playstyle you prefer. Number 8. Spectre. Spectre is an AoE guard, which means she can hit multiple targets equal to her block number. That's 2 enemies at Elite 1 and 3 enemies at Elite 2. Her talent is Abyssal Regeneration. Max HP plus 10%, restores HP by 2% of max HP per second. The max HP buff and the HP regeneration work well since they are based on her somewhat high max HP. Her second skill is Bone Fracture. During the skill duration, Spectre's HP will not drop below 1, attack plus 100%. Spectre is stunned for 10 seconds after the skill duration. Simple but quite effective. The huge attack buff helps her deal as much damage as possible while being immortal for 12 seconds. The 10-second stun is big, so you will either have to defeat all enemies in time or have someone blocking behind her. Having a defender behind her isn't beneficial, as you want someone like a Lord Guard behind her to help with damage. In my opinion, Lumen's skill 3 is the best pair for her as it can remove the stun immediately. Should you add masteries to her skills? Her second skill at M3 will have a significant upgrade to her damage and an extra 2 seconds of duration. Should you build her module? The module adds the following effect to her trait. Attack is increased to 110% when attacking blocked enemies. You are going to use her to block enemies anyway, so this buff is going to be active most of the time. This module also adds an extra talent. Increases the damage dealt by all Abyssal Hunter operators by 5% while Spectre is deployed. It's a good module if you are going for the Abyssal Hunter squad. But even if not, she still gets the extra 5% damage. The module is good since it boosts her damage even outside her skill, which is her biggest weakness. Number 7. Firewatch. Firewatch is a Deadeye sniper, which means she will prioritize attacking the enemy with the lowest defense within range first. Her talent is Assassin. Attack increases to 140% when attacking ranged enemies. A big attack buff that does help her with ranged enemies. This is great as ranged enemies like drones and casters are the ones who will be targeting and defeating her if she doesn't deal with them quickly. Her first skill is Camouflage. Attack plus 40% and gain invisibility. This skill has a good duration of 35 seconds and the invisibility almost works like she is invincible. During the skill, Firewatch won't be targeted by enemies and she doesn't take AoE or splash damage, like for example the exploding spiders. This skill has a bigger potential with masteries and the module equipped, but we will get to that later. Her second skill is Tactical Transceiver. Randomly drops 2 bombs within range, especially to the enemy's position. Every bomb deals 240% of attack physical damage to all nearby enemies. At first sight, a 240% attack might seem little, especially with the long cooldown of 50 SP, but what you might not know is she has an insane attack stat thanks to her archetype. It reaches 1000 at Elite 2 level 50. Just note that the bombs won't be dropped in the same tile, should you add masteries to her skills. Her first skill gets insane upgrades at M3. The SP cost lowers from 26 to 20, the attack buff goes up from 40 to plus 70% attack. And what makes the lower SP cost and the huge attack buff even more busted is the increase in the duration. That goes from 35 to 50 seconds. So just to put things into perspective, this skill has only 20 SP cost that can improve with her module, and support like Warfarin, Arketo, and Stainless have a plus 70% attack which works very well with her high attack stat. All that while being invisible for the duration of 50 seconds. Her second skill gets an extra bomb at M1, and the damage increase at M3 is worth the investment. Like I said before, every damage increase is huge for her as she has a very high attack stat, so make sure you pair her with buffers. Should you build her module? Her module is a must for her. She gains 1 additional SP if the attacked enemy remains alive. This helps with her second skill's big SP cost and it will make her first skill be up throughout the majority of the battle. It's okay if you leave this module at level 1, as it only increases the damage against ranged enemies by a little. Number 6. Telopsis. Telopsis is an AoE medic, which means she can restore the HP of 3 allies simultaneously. Her talent is Skill Aura. When deployed, it increases the SP recovery of all allies by 0.3 SP per second. Only the highest effect of this type will be applied. This is a straight up 30% faster skill charging for all allies, not only on her range but the whole battlefield. This talent alone should convince you to make her your default medic. Just not that this only works with auto recovery skills. Her second skill is Enkephalon. Range expands, reduces attack interval significantly. AoE medics suffer from long attack intervals, and this skill fixes it to the point of making Telopsis one of the best healing per second operators. This skill has a 100 SP cost, but it's not a problem since her talent makes it shorter, and you usually would use the medic skill only once or twice per battle anyway. Should you add masteries to her skills? The upgrade is great, but the skill is already powerful at level 7 for the majority of stages. Should you build her module? Her module is nice. It adds an extra tile on the front of her range, which is great as you often find it a bit short. It also upgrades her talent to now allies within her attack range gain 0.35 SP per second instead of 0.3 SP per second. Number 5. La Pluma. La Pluma is a Reaper guard, which means she cannot normally be healed by allies. Attacks deal AoE damage, recover 50 HP for every enemy hit during attacks, up to block count. Her talent Into the Groove increases attack speed plus 3 after defeating an enemy, stacks up to 12 times. This effect pairs well with her trait, more attack speed equals more healing. Her first skill Rapid Slashing. The attack of the next attack increases to 135%, attacking twice consecutively. This skill offers good consistent damage. It's good skill if the enemies are coming non-stop at her. If not, you are better off with her second skill, Reap. Attack interval reduces moderately, attack plus 55%. Attack increases by an additional plus 40% against enemies with less than 50% HP. The attack speed increase from her talent and this skill increases her healing significantly, which is great since she can't be healed normally by her allies. A plus 55% attack might not look a lot at first look, but the huge attack speed more than makes up for it. The additional plus 40% attack against enemies with less than 50% HP works better if you have additional DPS. Should you add masteries to her skills? You can mastery 3 her first skill if you like it. The SP cost from 3 to 2 and the attack increase makes a difference in her DPS, but I don't recommend it because her second skill is way better. Her second skill is really recommended to mastery 3 since it increases both her attack and attack speed significantly. Should you build her module? Her module increases her healing per attack from 50 to 60 HP, which is good given that her attack interval is very fast. At level 3 it grants her plus 8% attack when she reaches max attack speed stacks from her talent. Overall, it is a decent upgrade to her attack and healing, but it is not something you should prioritize, especially over her second skill masteries. Number 4. Warfarin. Warfarin is a single target medic. That means, well, she restores the HP of her allies one at a time. Her talent is Blood Sample Recycle, restores 2 skill points to this operator and a random ally within range when an enemy within range is killed. One of the best talents in the game, though you need to place her properly so her range covers the operators you want to gain SP and also the tiles where you are going to defeat the enemies. Her first skill is Emergency Triage. The next heal restores an additional 19% of its target's max HP, only available when the target's HP is lower than 50%. Can store 3 charges. The healing based on max HP is strong, especially when used on operators with high HP like Defenders, Dreadnought and AoE guards, and Surtur shenanigans. The only downside for this skill is that it charges by healing an ally, which is slow because of her slow attack interval, not to mention that she needs to heal allies to charge this skill. It is great when the charges are up, but it struggles in longer fights with hard-hitting enemy. Her second skill is Unstable Plasma. Warfarin and a random ally within range obtain the following status: attack plus 60% and loses 3% of max HP every second, lasting for 15 seconds. One of the strongest attack buff skills with minimum drawbacks. The HP loss is insignificant as she can out-heal it anyway. Even the 60 SP cost after the first activation can recharge quickly with her talent. Again, similar to her talent, you need to place Warfarin in a way where the ally you want to buff is the only one in her range. Should you add masteries to her skills? Her first skill, Healing, increased from 19% at level 7 to 25% at M3, which is huge considering it is max HP based healing, and it can hold an extra charge. While the upgrade is significant, it isn't really necessary since it will do the job just fine, and you will probably use her second skill most of the time. But if you like this skill and use it often, I would say go for it. Her second skill also benefits a lot from mastery, going from a plus 60% attack buff at level 7 to plus 90% at M3. This 30% makes a huge difference for operators with high base attack, or high attack modifier on their skills like Exuzii. Should you build her module? Her module offers more healing by 15% when healing allies with less than 50% HP. It also upgrades her talent to restore 2 more SP if the enemy defeated was an elite or boss. The extra healing is good, but the talent upgrade is very situational. Overall, the module is not really worth the investment, especially not to level 3. Number 3. Cantabile. Cantabile is an agent vanguard, which means she has a low redeployment time of 35 seconds. Her talent grants her plus 12 attack speed if she is not blocking an enemy, and plus 12% attack if she is blocking one. The increase in attack speed is better than just plain attack, because it helps her generate DP faster with her skills. Her first skill, Penetrating Gaze, is a passive skill. After deployment, attack plus 70% and generates 1 DP after each attack. A great on deployment DP generation skill, it generates 1 DP every second for 17 seconds at level 7 and 20 seconds at M3. Aside from the good DP generation, it has decent damage for the early game and you don't have to wait for the skill to charge. Her second skill, Specular Reflection. Attack plus 28%, attack speed plus 34, gains camouflage. Generates 1 DP after each attack. Skill activation grants 15 ammo and the skill ends when all ammo is used, and it can be manually deactivated. This skill is better if you want Cantabile to be a stationary unit. The ammo and the manual deactivation function help a lot with min-maxing the skill reactivation cycle for more DP generation. Should you add masteries to her skills? Both her skills benefit greatly from masteries, especially her second skill, as it will get more attack speed and ammo for better DP generation. Doesn't matter which skill you choose, she is one of the best DP generating operators in the game. Number 2. Liskarm. Liskarm is a sentinel defender. That means she has an extra tile range, a bit less tanky than a normal defender but deals a bit more damage. Her first talent is Tactical Defense. Restores 1 SP to Liskarm and a random ally in the surrounding tiles when attacked. One of the best support talents in the game, and this is mostly where her value as an operator comes from. This talent helps operators with skills that charge when attacking an enemy or being attacked, or nuke operators with spammable skills like Passenger and Leonhardt. Just be careful with placing operators around her since the SP is restored randomly. Her second talent, Thunder Resistance, grants her plus 10 art resistance. Art damage isn't as common as physical damage, but a helpful talent nonetheless since she will be at the front tanking hits. I usually skip skills that are bad or are extremely overshadowed by other skills, but in this case, I want to specifically tell you to not use her first skill. This skill is an auto-trigger activation skill. The problem with that is you can't take advantage of Liskarm's SP talent when you want to, so it is pretty awkward if the skill is auto-activated when you need SP, otherwise, the skill itself is decent. Her second skill is Counter Arc. Attack interval increases, attack plus 125%, attacks deal arts damage to at most 3 enemies, and have 20% chance to stun the hit targets for 1 second. Liskarm is stunned for 5 seconds after the skill duration. This skill turns her into an AoE guard with arts damage like Broca. The damage from this skill is very strong for a defender, but the 20% chance to stun is a bit low, especially with her increased attack interval. You need to keep in mind the 5-second stun after the skill ends. But this isn't something Lumen's third skill can't fix. Should you add masteries to her skills? Mastery 3 on her second skill boosts her damage quite a lot from plus 125% to plus 200%, and she can attack an extra enemy. M3 gives it a great value, but it's not something you should prioritize unless you really like her. Number 1. Lapland. Lapland is a Lord Guard, and because of her trait her ranged attacks only deal 80% of her normal attack. Her talent Spiritual Destruction disables the target's special ability when attacking, lasting 5 seconds. She has one of the best silence debuffs. Her range makes it easy to apply it, and it lasts for 5 seconds, meaning she can keep an enemy silenced as long as she is attacking it. Her first skill Sundial, attack plus 55%, 30% chance to resist physical damage. It has an infinite duration and it charges by attacking an enemy. This skill has a decent attack buff and it makes her fairly tanky against physical damage dealing enemies. You can think of it as a mini Thorn skill 3 Destreza, but it gets overshadowed by her second skill, Wolf Spirit. Attack plus 90%, damage dealt turns into arts damage, attacks one extra target, the damage reduction of ranged attacks is removed. This skill is automatically activated and it charges by attacking an enemy. The huge attack buff and the art damage make Lapland melt high defense enemies and most of the enemies in the game. Attacking an extra target also synergizes well with her silence talent. The damage reduction from her trait isn't really a big weakness, but this skill gets rid of it as well. Should you add masteries to her skills? Her second skill is highly recommended to Mastery 3. It significantly increases her damage and skill duration. And most importantly, it shortens the SP cost from 24 at level 7 to 17 at M3, which is huge considering the skill charging type is attacking an enemy. This was my list of the top 10 best 5-star operators in Arknights. Let me know what you think in the comments, and what operator this list makes you consider building. Thank you for watching.